Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 common mistakes new real estate investors make. With this information, hopefully before you make investment on the new property, especially a rental property, so that way you will understand and make more educated and calculated investments. In case if you're new here, my name is Simon. I'm an entrepreneur and also a real estate investor. I usually share information about entrepreneurship, investment, wellness, and happiness on this channel. If you didn't subscribe yet, make sure you do so that way you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And while you're at it, make sure you click on the notification bell so that way you'll get notified. Thank you for coming. Let's get to it. Sometimes when we think about investment in real estate and properties on the rental and making money on the real estate, most people will make decisions without analyzing enough or not calculating what can be the outcome when you make a decision quick. And sometimes everything might look good, and especially on a paper, most of the stuff it gets provided to you. It's not something you can think of. So when you think about purchasing a property, you need to analyze from the top to the bottom and really dig in deep to figure out what is going to be the bottom line cost. So the number one and the biggest mistake is not analyzing and also understanding what is the most difficult thing or what is the outcome you're looking for. So when you invest on any rental properties, number one and the biggest thing is you need to analyze if you're buying it correctly, and also if you are really calculating everything about that property from all the expenses. When you make a list and really analyze it, it makes a clear vision and you will understand it better if that's a good investment or not. That's rule number one. Make sure you analyze it correctly. Analyze extra. Sometimes it's better to budget an extra amount on your expenses than underestimating. So that's number one. Number two mistake is most property owners will calculate the things, the repairs they make on their own time. Sometimes we forget and we undervalue our own time. Yeah, of course, we might be able to fix some of the stuff on our own, on your own. But if you have a job, don't forget the time you are taken away from you from doing your job to fix whatever the issue was. If you're fixing a toilet, or if you're painting the apartment, or if you're changing a light bulb, whatever it is, if you are doing it yourself, we don't calculate the time for ourselves. So remember that. Always remember how much exactly is going to cost you when you do the work on your own. So that's number two, usually gets forgotten. You need to remember that. Because if you are doing it yourself, and if it's taking you away, whether from your business or from your job or even from whatever family time, that is a cost. So remember that. Number two is the biggest mistake is people will underestimate or undervalue the time and the energy they will spend by doing the work on their own. That's number two. Number three is managing softly. When I say managing softly is sometimes when you lease a property and you have a certain rules on your lease, we don't enforce it, especially when you're new, because there is an idea of in your head that if you are lenient and if you give that person a chance, your tenant a chance, it might pay you a little bit late or catch up and whatever they're doing, it's okay. You don't really enforce your own lease rules. And because of that, overnight it becomes 1 day late to 1 week late, from 1 week to 2 weeks, from 2 weeks to a month, from a month to 2 months, and before you know it, you will not get any rent in 3 months, and it will drag too long before you evict that person. And by the time you evict that person, you might be 4, 5, 6 months late, and you will lose that money because it will be very hard to recoup that money from an investor side when a tenant leaves you with that kind of debt. So remember that you need to be strong, and you need to be very strict landlord if you are going to be getting into rental properties. That's number 3. Or you can always hire a property management. It will cost you a little bit more, 10% usually per month, but it will be someone who's going to manage it for you all the time, so you don't have to deal with that. Number 4 is usually making decisions emotionally. Sometimes when you purchase your own first investment property, you get emotionally tied to that property, so the investment you make, it doesn't really make sense on the dollar amount because you are invested emotionally more than your money. So because of that, you start doing stuff that will cost you a lot more, but it doesn't really add value to your property. So that kind of investment, you need to really be careful so you won't make those mistakes, because you might spend some crazy amount of money. It might make that property look really nice, but it might not add value to you because you won't really increase the rent because of that, or it might not even increase the value of the property because of those improvements you made or you spend money on. So always evaluate and figure out whatever you are spending. Make sure it's not emotionally driven. It had to be calculated and figured out to the dot if it's really valuable to that property to increase the value. I mean, if you are adding values, like for example, if you're adding additional bathrooms, or if you're adding a dishwasher in the kitchen, or things to that nature, like tenants will appreciate, that will drive your rental income increase, which will increase your value of the property at the end. But there's some stuff you end up spending might not really increase the value of a property. So whenever you spend money, make sure it's not emotionally driven, and make sure it is driven from cost and also return based. You have to understand how much you spend and how much is it going to increase your value of that property or your rental income. That's number 4 mistake. Number 5 mistake is not understanding price and also cost. When I say price and cost, sometimes we get driven to start investing on a property because of the price of the property. We think as a new investor, whatever amount of money you are spending, if it sounds cheap enough, it might look like a good deal. But that property, if you paid less amount of dollar, sometimes it will cost you more on the long run. So yes, your initial cost might be very low, but to maintain that property or to stay active rental unit might cost you a lot more in the long run. So you really need to understand what is the cost of operating that property and what is really cost of that property. You need to really understand before you make your investment. So sometimes make sure you dig and dip and really write it down on a paper. Understand, what does that mean? Okay, you bought this property cheap, but is it really that cheap monthly cost? Because the toilets might be old, it might really waste a lot of water, or the property might have a bad insulation and your heat cost might be high. So sometimes you really need to figure out what is the cost of the property, and also what is the cost to operate that property. It might be cheaper sometimes or better to spend another $50,000 or even $100,000 and to buy a better property, so that way your monthly cost will be a lot less. So in the long run, will be more profitable to you. So those are the 5 tips I have for you, and that's the 5 common mistakes most real estate investors they make when they are new. So hopefully you will learn a few things from this video and understand what it means getting into a real estate investment, and so that way when you invest your money, it will be much more calculated and understood the risk to the reward. So that way your investment will be much more calculated and figured out which way it will benefit you the most. Thank you for watching again. My name is Simon. If you didn't click the subscribe button this time, please do so. As always, click the like button. It helps our channel grow. Thank you again. I will catch you on the next video. Take care.